Well, because
Oh, he
loves
just
her.
now did. Yeah.
Okay. And Amy's in the hospital again. So she's
Again?
yeah. And Annie is usually late. So
Okay. Okay.
if she comes in, that's not an unusual thing, but we won't.
Yeah.
And I'm hit or miss.
How you doing?
Well, today's a hit.
Yeah, I'm waving on the screen.
Is Jerome with us?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, Jerome.
Hi, Jerome.
Good morning.
There we go.
Hey, Pastor
Okay.
Don.
Okay,
It's in your
all right.
hands. We are.
thank you. We're gonna drill down today and look at practical things for you, okay? So we've got a holiday season coming up. Christmas in particular, of course, Thanksgiving and things like that. So the question is, you know, what do you have any plans on how you're going to promote yourself in the community? If not, it's really pushing the time now. We need to look at that. Okay.
We have a
And
really big sign to go on the front sign there
Okay.
that has worship times. and
Yeah.
Welcomes there.
yeah,
you know.
good. One of the questions I was going to ask is what type of traffic do you get on the street right out here?
None. Just very low.
Okay.
Local.
Very, yeah,
Mhm.
very local, just getting to their house
Mhm.
or something along those
Okay.
lines. Okay, so
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
good.
the-
So the sign is good. You need that sign. But if there aren't a lot of people going by, it's only going to touch a few people. So getting as you start rolling in terms of, I'm going to use the word advertising. It's basically just a short word for sharing who you are and your presence. Okay, so how you do that is in what works best for you and what you can afford to do. That
Mhm.
becomes another and some of those barriers for that. So, but it's always about saturation. Okay, yellow page ads. Nobody goes in the yellow pages much anymore.
Right.
Okay, so that's not a great investment. But it's about saturation and it's about changing things up over the course of time. So, but yet you don't want to try something once and just abandon it unless you think it's just an absolute failure. So just that's what I'd like to do here today is to find out what are you doing? What is your service schedule from Thanksgiving through New Year's? What times are you worshiping? When are you formally gathering for worship? And I realize you're coming out of the pandemic. You probably didn't do much last Christmas, or you did a little bit.
Yeah, we had a service. So
Candlelight service.
in fact, the previous Christmas Eve was the first time that we all came back to the parking lot.
Okay.
And then the most recent Christmas Eve, we were back inside by that point, but
Okay.
with masks and everything.
Yeah.
No distributed communion. In fact, we just 2 Sundays ago started distributing
Communion.
at the altar.
Okay. Okay.
Well, I
okay,
can tell you that we don't have a Thanksgiving service planned at this point.
Okay.
And we had not before, even before COVID hit.
Mhm.
But we are going to try doing midweek Advent services.
Okay.
Starting November 26th, whatever that is.
Mhm.
I just put it in the newsletter
Okay.
for the calendar
30th.
and the
Last day of
worship
November.
schedule, 30th, okay.
Okay.
And underneath the worship skirt. So that's already gone into the newsletter.
Okay.
Is that gonna be in the evening or the afternoon or?
It's 3
Afternoon.
o'clock,
3 o'clock?
yeah, 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay. Okay.
And it's kind of a meditative candle. We're
Holden.
we're going to
Holden,
use Holden evening prayer service for it.
Okay.
It's a service that's conducted completely in music. And we have a recording for it that has voices and everything.
And what day of the week is that gonna be?
Wednesday,
Wednesday?
yeah,
Mhm.
like Lent.
Okay.
Yeah, in the past, we have not done, or while I've been here anyway, have not done Advent midweek services. We've done Lenten midweek, but
Mhm, mhm,
Um,
mhm.
I don't think
Big-
we've ever done Advent, have we, Joanne?
Not Advent, but backing up a little bit to Thanksgiving, there were several years where we combined with the Methodist Church.
hmm,
right in here when Thanksgiving Eve and, you know, they would invite us there another Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys want to talk about doing that or not this year.
Well, we have a meeting at 2
Just
o'clock
okay.
today, so.
Okay. well, thank you about it.
Okay.
Great.
Okay, so your first midweek advent is gonna be the 30th. Are you going all the way through the 21st with 4, or are you gonna do 3?
So I'm gonna be gone 1 week. So not gonna do the 7th, unfortunately.
But we are
Okay.
doing the next
14th
week.
and 21st.
Right.
Okay. Is there a way you could do the 7th lay lead? I'm just throwing
I was
things
wondering that
out,
too.
because Holden is, you're not doing communion or anything with it, right?
No.
Yep.
Or
I
you
think,
are?
Oh,
no,
no, we're
correct, we are
You're
not.
not.
Sorry.
You answered it properly. It just made sense.
Yeah.
No, we're not.
So there is a possibility,
Mhm.
but and it will be asking folks probably in this room who have a lot on their plate already.
Mhm.
Well, I was just thinking of it as I was talking about them. I think it's better to have the whole rhythm of it rather than just,
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can't.
I
have
do too.
contingency.
you gotta
Yeah,
have
let's
it.
begin at the beginning and then,
Mhm.
and we can, sad to say, if you look around your absence.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, even for my part in it, I'm gonna add in a little kind of devotional or
Mhm.
contemplative piece, and it's essentially just taking. I have 2 different books that I'm looking at right now,
Mhm.
and kind of reading out of that, and then just talking a little bit about it.
Mhm. Mhm.
So it's really
Yeah.
not creating a new wheel or anything.
You could also maybe, as you did during COVID, record it ahead. And we could have it up on the screen for that part.
That's
and do the
true.
rest.
That's a good idea.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, we can do that.
Mhm.
Very good.
Mhm.
We did that with that before.
Now, understanding when you start midweek services, this first round here, we know midweek service isn't the same as Sunday service. And so, but in Advent in particular, I love Advent services. I've always had them wherever I served. And if, like when I got to St. Paul and Fullerton, they didn't have, 'em, so we added them in. And depending on where Christmas was, sometimes we would not do one the week of Christmas coming up,
Mhm.
depending on how close it was. Like if Christmas Eve was on Friday, we would
Mhm.
not necessarily do one on Wednesday,
Christmas
but
Eve
that's Christmas
Saturday.
Eve is on a
Saturday,
Saturday, yeah. So that's fine. So what I'm trying to say is don't get discouraged, even if you
Mm.
have 2 people.
Mhm.
Okay, you stay with it, and then look at it and say, okay, now what are we going to do and tweak for next year? And how are we going to get the word out? That it's happening. Okay, especially in the neighborhood, where people, if you're doing it at 3 o'clock, you're hitting a specific targeted group of people at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and understanding that people during this season are much busier with different activities than Lent. Okay, so that will impact you a little bit too. Do it. I'm not trying to discourage. I'm just trying to say, hey, if you don't have, half of your Sunday worship attendance there, don't fret. Okay, stay with it to keep the rhythm
I don't
going
anyway.
for next year. So
How many members
that
do
would
we
be
have
it.
that are working that would be able to come? I mean, is that
Not many.
not many? Okay.
Yeah, most folks are not working.
And we picked 3 because places like Pacifica start dinner at,
5-ish or something.
no, like
Oh,
4:30.
do they? Oh.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
start early over there.
they
Yeah,
really
yeah.
start
Otherwise,
early.
we went to dinner.
Yeah, and so, well, that's every day. So, we want, the Holden is just about no more than a half an hour. And if you add a little sermonette in there or whatever, we don't expect it to be somewhere between 30 and 45 minutes, no longer. So,
Well, I
Is that-
also think, and
out there in this whole thing thinking differently than most people, but, you know, I know that the initial target was for families, young families and things like this, but I think we're missing our target of the 50 and 60-year-olds.
Yeah, 40,
And-
50, 60.
And
Mhm.
because that's who lives around here.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
I know
agree.
that Audie Murphy's different, but I'm talking about the,
And when they show up with young kids and they see no kids, they don't come back.
yeah, so this could hit the retired people that are newly retired
Mhm.
in a really good place.
I think you're onto something there. Okay. Understanding who your target audience is to start.
Mhm.
Okay. And once you begin to grow capacity, and which will naturally build some excitement, then you begin, it's just, it's like the pebble in the pond. You get the first ring and then the rings start going out. That's what you're going to do over a course of time. If you get out ahead of that too fast, you're going to have a harder time at success with this. So start locally, and if you're Advent, go all in on it, see what you get, and then that will help inform you when Lent comes around.
Hmm.
You don't even have to wait till the next Advent, as to how you're going to do that, and how you position that time is important, because there are a lot of places that don't do Advent or even Lent services anymore. Okay. And then there are those who are just going to have no clue in your community what is an Advent service and what is a Lent service. So this is a great time to do that, even if they're members at another church. You can offer this and they may drop in. Just
Like
you're not trying to.
asking the Methodist
Yeah.
folks if they were interested.
Yeah,
Right.
let them
I
know.
was gonna say, if we just let our fairly local churches know
Mhm.
that if you don't already have anything planned for Advent, we invite you to come
Come and
at
join.
3:00
Right,
to Faith Lutheran
right,
and share that with us.
right. And you might even find not that it has to be pastoral led, because it doesn't have to be, but you might find a leader in another church on the Sunday you're gone to say, hey,
Yeah.
which will help draw people from that
Mhm.
community. So,
I think one of the things to consider is that 4 o'clock in the afternoon is too early,
3:00.
or 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
We start looking at people that we're trying to attract, which is the working crowd, and start looking at 7 o'clock for these events, so that the working class, it's tight for them, but if they get home at 6, gather up the family and be here by 7. But 3 o'clock in the afternoon, that's great for seniors, but not great for working people.
well, that's
Well,
what,
half of our people can't drive at night.
that was the next question I was
I
going to.
understand that, but the thing is that we still have to look at the fact that what we're trying to attract in the future, we gotta make it available, because, if you're working, you're not gonna be here at 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
I think the counter to that is the midweek worship is not designed to primarily attract new people. I think that it's a great place to be able to do that. But really, the midweek service is about worshiping midweek and expanding what we're offering to folks who are already available. And I'm not convinced that, so this is out of the normal pattern of worship, right? There are some folks who will be looking for something like that. Some people who have been at other places with midweeks, but I mean, really the Sunday is the main touch point for people who, I mean, they know that church is on Sunday, even folks who are unchurched or haven't been in church for a while. We should definitely try and make the midweek as attractive and inclusive to as many people as we can. But we know that, like Mars is saying, many of our folks don't drive at night. And by that point, it'll be very dark by 7.
So everyone that would come would need to pick up at least one other person that cannot drive,
Right. And that could
even
be,
if you don't normally do that.
if we want to make that our priority, that we want to make sure that it's at 7, et cetera, we can figure it out.
Mhm.
I think it's really about discerning our priorities here.
I like the.
And I'm saying our priority has to be our overall priority of building the church and the congregation. And we've done this for a number of years, and we now have to start changing our viewpoint.
We've been what for a couple of years exactly? What are you referring to, Jerome?
Say
Catering,
one more time.
Sorry, say that again, Jerome.
Yes,
What did you say it was? We've done it for a couple of years. Sorry, I didn't catch it.
oh, the past years have always been towards the seniors. And we're now trying to gather in new people, new generation, and we have to start looking at the fact of servicing those people. How you want to do it may not be this year, but it's something that we have to do.
we need to make sure we have a website and internet presence that's a lot larger than what we have if we're gonna attract non-seniors. Because half the people in our church don't even have a computer or internet.
That's true.
Yeah, so
But we're advertising on the internet. We put out advertising last month, this month. Our big advertising comes out in November for 41,000 households. And then we have a follow-up again at 24/7 in December. So, we're trying that side of the house.
Mhm.
And I'm just saying we have to kind of start looking at changing our viewpoint. Now, as far as outside flags are concerned, the commercial advertisement that other people are using with these, pole flags, we can buy those. They're fairly simple and fairly cheap. $50 for one of those things.
Pastor Tom,
So,
you're going to
yeah.
say something?
yeah, I think you have what you have going here. Again, I'm going to go back to that example of dropping the pebble into the pond. Okay, and you develop these rings that go out. I think for this piece, it's good to start close, and then you put together a strategic. I almost used a word that I hate to use now. You need to put together a longer range plan. I was going to say strategic plan, but how you are going to go and increase this and begin to set the course for growing your capacity. We don't know what God has planned for this ministry. Okay, you may turn around and become a congregation of all ages. Okay, you may be more specialized. But the first step is you don't want to start trying to accomplish this. You need to get here and then begin to work out. With a plan, you take step by step by step by step. And that's what you're not gonna, this is not a Saul to Paul, on the road of Damascus moment. Okay. And your people, when I sit down with people in meetings like this group of people, you're all on board on what you need to do. But somehow you've got to bring the people in the pew on board too. Okay, you need to begin to prepare the soil and say, we're going to start doing, in 2023, we're going to be doing some new things, looking to attract people of all ages. and you're gonna see some different things happening. And we need your help and your support to do that. We need your participation and your encouragement, so that when somebody comes in the door, they're welcomed, okay? You got to get the infrastructure in-house prepared to receive the people that would come in. It's just like preparing the Thanksgiving feast at home. If you're having a bunch of guests, you have to do certain things in the house so that it's successful when the guests all arrive, because they're just going to show up and eat and leave. Okay. Yeah, so that's what's going to happen here. But if they come and you don't have some sort of infrastructure in place to receive them in a way that's hospitable, thinking about them first, then you're going to be increasing the headwinds, would be the way I would put it, as you try to move forward. So I
think we kind of need to be careful, even with Joan and what you're saying too, is that we do that and hoping that it does increase things, but we have to be aware of what we have now. We don't want to risk
Alienating them.
Well,
losing them with the
Yeah, and
not
that
being able to participate or having volunteers to pick them up. or
and
something.
that is very, very true. Okay, that is very, very true. The cycle in that though is that's how you begin to, you need to prep them for this
Well, that's
this
what
slow
The way
change.
that you said,
Yeah.
we're gonna be making some changes, so
You
maybe
need,
we can get
you
those
need to
volunteers
prep
to
them,
pick 'em up or
right? Because
something.
they're gonna, well, what about us?
Yeah.
We're already
They're already-
members here. I used to regularly tell folks in the places I've been, yeah, I'm preaching, you're here, I love your support. It's all great and wonderful, but there are gonna be times I'm not preaching for you.
Hmm.
I'm preaching for the new face
Mhm.
that's out there,
Mhm.
and it's kind of like, the proverbial preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
The choir doesn't need conversion. And I use that word lightly when I say conversion, okay?
Yeah, we know what you mean.
Yeah.
But there
So-
are, if they're new to the church, they need to know what the church is about. They need to know what the gospel is about. They need to know why it's worth coming here.
Mhm.
Not because we have a bunch of programs necessarily, not because, we have such great music, but what is our core belief? Is this something you can get, is it meeting your needs? Kind of thing.
Well, what
I
is
don't
this?
know.
Yeah, what is this? You're talking the right thing. What is the spiritual side of this?
Yeah,
That is important. You
the other
don't,
stuff's
you're not
important
looking
too.
to be Club Menifee.
Mhm.
You have a sense of wanting to proclaim the gospel. Okay, and for me, that's music to my ears. Okay, because the gospel is the hub. It is the hub of what we do as the church. Otherwise, we can be the Lions Club or the Kiwanis Club, or we can be, I'm not bad mouthing those groups and organizations by any means, but we're the church. And so the church is about faith and God. And while there are side door evangelism, and we're getting off into a tangent here that I want to bring it back quickly. When we're talking about God and faith and how we're bringing that alive, that's what the church does. Okay, you may have a program that could be a side door evangelism piece. Okay, one of our best ones when I was in Columbus, Ohio, was softball.
Mhm.
We actually had a softball league. A church, one of St. James, Missouri Synod Church had a softball field, and so we had three. We started with one softball team, but then people were inviting friends and everything. That when I left, they were up to 3-4 softball teams, and then people were saying, wow, this is kind of a fun group to hang out with. And people were saying, well, come to church. You have a church? No, come to church, and it became, not everybody's going to come to church, but it becomes a vehicle, becomes a passive vehicle in which people will come through the front door because they have a connection with somebody first. Okay. But so anyway, I want to get back to
Can I interject something?
yes.
what's the possibility that we go to 2 services? One at 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock for the seniors and one at 7 o'clock for the younger people.
I think that that's something to have a conversation and consider. I'm assuming you have a worship team that has kind of picked this place, right? Is that what you, how
I'm
you
chair of
decide?
worship and music.
Okay, so you're chair of worship and music. So that
and
would
that's
be
what
a
we came
conversation.
up with.
Yeah, that would be a conversation that somebody in this group here can take to worship and you say, hey, we've had this suggestion, and then you talk about that. This isn't the place to override what the other committee did, okay? And so that would be the piece, Jerome.
Well, and
So,
we're meeting at 2 o'clock today, if anybody'd like to join us.
okay, so 2 o'clock today. So you can bring that up as a fair conversation. You know, that's,
And we can be
Yeah.
on Zoom for you, Jerome.
okay, so there you go. And don't get into a tussle over it, okay? It's okay, that's, because it's not a bad idea. Whether it happens this year or not, who knows, but you got to figure that piece out. You don't have a lot of time to
Mhm.
let people know. So that's the piece. And you also want to be mindful of the time of your pastor in preparing that. I mean, 2 services on a given day is not the end of the world. It's finding that piece out. So I would suggest that conversation happen at worship, okay? And then this group reacts to what the plan is, with the idea that what you choose to do this year doesn't prevent you from choosing other things to enhance this for Lent and that, because one of the big draws at one point in time, here I go down this other tangent, is if you really want young families to come to a service in the evening, you've got to cook dinner with it.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, you got it.
Yep.
Because these folks have kids for school, or like we did in Fullerton, our Lent, we used to have, when I started there, the Welka Circles did a soup, and you did a soup dinner every week, and I'm looking around and I'm going, we had confirmation that night at 5 o'clock. We'd have a dinner that started at 6. The kids would join at 6:30, and then we went on to services at 7:15. Okay, that was our Wednesday night piece, and I'm just speaking to our experience. Okay,
I've been in churches that
Okay.
do that.
My old church did that. We always had a soup dinner
Okay.
during Lent.
with all due
Every
respect,
We've always done that, yeah.
with all due respect, soup dinners don't attract young families.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what we went to was making an arrangement with like Panda Express. Okay, and we catered in that night. We went and got it, picked it up, brought it in, set it up. All of a sudden, the confirmands were coming up, and their families were coming. Not all of them stayed for the worship service because they have homework. They've got school the next day. There's a lot of different things at work there, but you're going to have some enticements in that. So this is why I don't want yourself to set yourself up for extreme disappointment. Okay, this is a process. It's a journey. You're not going to accomplish everything in one day. So have that conversation at worship and music and do those pieces. I want to zero us back into what you're going to do during the holidays. And then this group is going to be responsible for promoting that. Okay, right? I mean, you don't have an advertising wing,
Right.
you a marketing wing, and this is it.
Just Lynn.
Right? And whatever you do, keep supporting one another. If you get one new person that comes and visits during Advent, rejoice that.
Yes.
Okay. I'll do one other show. We did a Bring a Friend Sunday, in Fullerton. We did it for a while. The first time we brought in, on that weekend, we had a little fair where people could learn about different activities and stuff like that. We brought in like 30 people on that Sunday for a visitor. And one of the head people or lead people in our evangelism team called it a failure.
Ah, we just had one.
He
week
says, if
before
we don't
last.
have 150 new faces in the pew on that day, we failed.
No.
You didn't.
Hmm.
No, you didn't.
Well, then
you
ours
know?
was a miserable failure.
So that, you want to encourage one another. Okay. And move in that positive direction. So you got a service right now, it's at 3:00. We may talk about additional services. Once that plan is in place, how are you going to get that word out to the community?
Well, it's already gone in the newsletter as 3
Okay,
o'clock. I
who's-
mean, unless
who-
Lynn has not finished it.
Who's the newsletter addressed to?
Everyone in the congregation.
Internal.
Internal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How are you going to get the word out to people in the neighborhood or around? You don't have to have an answer today,
Oh.
okay? But you better have one pretty soon. Like if
Well,
you,
we already have something going on for December in 24/7, so we can just add that service into that.
right,
In the November and the
okay,
December one.
right. So, and the other thing is, as you see people, I mean, you all have, it gets harder as we get older to invite people to church because you have your circle of friends. You know whether they're churched or not. Don't want to offend somebody by saying, hey, you want to come to church with me this week? Because we don't know how they'll react. But unless we ask, they ain't coming. Okay? You may fail
Well, and
20 out of 21 asks. But it's really not failure. You're planting seeds.
well, and an Advent midweek would be totally different in terms of asking them about, hey, you want to escape the hectic Christmas time? Come spend
Mhm.
half an hour in
You
church.
say, you want a midweek spiritual checkup?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come
Yeah.
and join me. I'll will you come, I can pick you up, or when you're there, I'm going to be looking for you. Okay, and you
Or
can sit
take
with
them
me.
out to dinner
You
afterwards.
can say, you can take them out to dinner afterwards. You can do a lot of different things. So it's about that hospitality piece. So you're not having a Thanksgiving service, which is fine. Okay, is there one in the area, an interfaith? We used to always plug into the interfaith one.
There's an interfaith, I believe there's a short service followed by like distributing Thanksgiving meals.
Okay, okay,
Mhm.
okay. So, let people know about it.
Mhm.
Okay, definitely within your own community. I don't know if you have people who ever participate in that. Do they have multiple people lead that service, or is it just?
Yeah, so because it's the interfaith council, they get different folks from different interfaith is a bit of a misnomer. It's really ecumenical council,
Okay,
but different churches in the area. Mhm.
okay. Christian churches?
Mhm.
No, like the one we had in Fullerton we had Sikh and we had Muslim and we had all, it was
Jewish.
intra-faith, yeah, Jewish. the temple
There's
Yeah.
really no
council.
presence
Okay.
on the council
Okay,
for
so
that.
that's right. You got to work within,
Yeah.
within what's there and available. So if there's something there, invite people, and say, hey, within the community here, because getting connected is an important piece. So then you're going to move into your Advent right after Thanksgiving. Okay. How much decorating do you do in your sanctuary for Christmas?
For Christmas, there's a Christmas tree, which the kids usually decorate.
Okay.
Some things on the altar.
Okay.
Wreaths on the side.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
that we-
okay.
Wreaths
Oh,
on
yeah,
all
the
the
Working
wreaths.
on some of the
Lots of
outdoor
wreaths, lots
doors.
of wreaths.
Lots of wreaths.
wreaths on all the doors outside.
When does that happen? The decorations?
I don't have my notes
We
with
have the
me.
decorating
We have
were
we have a
planning-
date
We
for
were
it though.
planning for, I think it was Saturday, the 11th,
Okay,
10th,
okay. Okay.
which is a problem because I won't be here.
So those little nuances you can work out. Do you advertise to the, within the
no,
congregation to
December.
come out and help decorate?
Mhm.
Okay, do you have a name for it?
Oh, maybe we have to go the
For
third.
the day of decorating.
Yeah, do you have a
Uh,
name for it
no, I
other
think we
than
just all
for
invite-
decorating?
It's,
Okay,
uh,
you know, I
um,
think of something like,
Michelle guys.
like hanging of the greens or something like that, something catchy where people can plug into an event with a name. You know, if you get a couple extra people with extra hands, that would be great. Have some donuts and coffee or something, and I don't know.
That's what we
time of
did
day you're
last year,
doing
yeah.
it,
Yeah.
and that type of thing. If you have a family with the last name of Green, you might want to change the name. Okay. I had
Not
this, I
hanging
had
the greens.
I had this in Columbus. So it was like, oh, we're gonna hang the Green family.
We do have a herald, so hark the herald.
Hark the Herald. Okay, okay. So, you know, but you begin to put something to it, and because the power of that is that community is getting together and you're doing something active together. It's like, you know, I still work with the Brea High School band. I'm their treasurer for their instrumental booster group, you know, and I keep reminding them the most important thing, you know, yeah, we do a football snack shack on the visitor side, and we may only make a couple $1,000 over five games. It's a lot of work, you know, and that. But I said the valuable piece is you're building cohesion with parents
Hmm.
who work that help other things that the instrumental ministry. It's the same thing with the church. You know, you get 10 or 15 people there, or families represented there, and all of a sudden there's another connection. Okay, so you want to be kind of thinking about them with activities that you do. So that's just a suggestion. So then you're going to have the Wednesday services. Then you're going to come up on Christmas Eve, which this year is on Saturday, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so what's your service schedule for Christmas Eve?
So we have one,
Okay,
and that's at 5,
okay.
and
Mhm.
that's what we got.
Do you get
Can-
historically visitors to it?
Mhm,
Mhm, yeah.
Okay, people come?
Yeah. A lot of
Okay,
people have their families here too,
mhm.
visiting,
okay.
kids
okay.
and grandkids.
There you go. Okay, good, good. So the way you're set up is people come here and then probably go home and eat
Mhm.
with 5 o'clock, or it's on a Saturday, so they may actually need an early dinner. And then come. You know, every family has their own kind of tradition as to what they do in household, should say every household. So
A couple of times we've had cookies and coffee afterwards. and
that's great.
just
Which we should.
Some fellowship.
Yeah, that's
You
good.
can still have leave room for supper.
Okay.
and Eat at 7.
There you go. That's good. That's good. Fabulous. So you do the one service. Now this year, Christmas Day is on a Sunday. Do you normally have Christmas Day services?
No,
Okay. What are you doing this year?
lessons and carols.
Lesson, but you are doing a service.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good, good.
Normal Sunday time.
Normal Sunday time, which is
9:30.
9:30. Yeah, okay. So good, good. I'm glad to hear that.
Mhm.
Okay. And that I'm a big Christmas Day service. Wherever I went, we always did Christmas Day services. You know, it ended up being and this is kind of selfish for me. It was the one service in Fullerton, we did 4 services on Christmas Eve and then 1 service on Christmas Day. So we were at 4, 7, 9, and 11. Okay. And for me, there was no worshipful time. You know, in fact, what we did as a staff, musicians and guest musicians, all that, we actually had dinner between the early service and the next service together. Because there's no time to run home. There was no time to do any of that. We just brought food in and did that and said that, you know, this is our Christmas Eve dinner and stuff together. Our kids would go, all that stuff. So you do, you know, you do all of that hustle and bustle. Then we'd worship on Christmas Eve about 700. Okay. Our normal worship attendance was about 300, so we more than doubled on Christmas Eve. And then on Christmas morning, we get 30 people,
Mhm.
Mhm,
okay?
I know.
But it was incredibly
Yeah.
worshipful.
mhm.
It was incredible. And our family was just used to always getting up, early, opening up the presents. Sometimes we opened on late Christmas Eve, but yeah. So however you figure that rhythm out, this year you've got a service. That's great. Lessons and carols, promoted as lessons and carols. This is the time, because you always get those who say, we didn't sing any of the Christmas Eve or at Christmas Eve the hymns I like,
Mm,
and you can only fit so many hymns. But
mhm.
when you do a lesson and carol, you can pick,
It's all music.
it's all
Ah,
music,
and
and
you're-
you
everybody,
can
okay, now
pick
what are we
everybody's
gonna choose?
favorites, So, and that type of thing. And then on Christmas afternoon, Sue's family, we'd always get together with Sue's family, but they knew when I arrived, I wasn't going to be the most, because I was exhausted. Okay. And Sue was too, my spouse, because she played at all four.
Oh, wow.
services on
Oh,
Christmas
wow.
Eve with her flute and all that stuff and that. So we just said, just put up with us. If you want us here, we'll be here, but we may not be the most talkative, type of thing. So,
A little deflated.
right. So I brought with you, I talked about this last time a little bit. There's actually, I'll pass these around. Jerome, probably you could pick these up from
Mailbox.
pastor or somebody. Yeah, they'll put maybe a copy in your box. There's 2 sheets of paper. Okay. And we talked about your card that you have to
Mhm.
capture information. I brought a sample for you. Okay. You craft it how you want. This would be the one, the front side. Okay. And there's 3 of them on this page. Okay.
Mhm.
And on the back side, they were doing this, how to give online was the one they happened to give you. But you can start advertising different events. And this is not hard to start. You could start this pretty soon,
Mhm.
and you could utilize this on the, advertising some of the activities you have coming up. Okay, like we're going to do Advent services. Bring a friend.
Yeah.
3 o'clock, whatever, on the back of that card as a reminder. Okay, you can have extras of these. This is inexpensive.
Yeah.
Not sending it to a printer. This is done in-house. You run them off and you do it. And so I'm going to pass these around. There's 2 sheets. And there's like 5 sets there. So that's perfect for all of you. And Jerome, they can run a copy for you. Okay.
Mhm. Yep.
And this
No
is,
problem.
okay. And this is what you want to do to start capturing information of people who come in the door. Okay. Again, you can craft it to how you want to craft it. All right. But you want the basic things. You want to get a name. You want to get an address. You want to get a phone number and an email. Those are the basic things. Okay. And then you want to begin to develop a strategy of how you're going to follow up with people who fill these out. How many of you get advertisements? This is really a dumb question as I think about it. But how many of you get magazines or advertisements or something and you open it up and something falls down on the ground? It's so frustrating, isn't it?
Mhm.
Yes.
Why do you think it happens though?
Get your attention.
Because you have to pick it up.
Yeah.
There you go.
You
So
have to
when
look
they
at
don't,
it.
I know you don't necessarily do bulletins, right? You have the one long sheet, so you can figure how that might work. But you can put these in the pew, you can do whatever. But for us, it was always they would open something up, this would fall out, and then they'd look at it. And then I made a point, and our staff made the point, whoever was leading worship would say, please take a moment to fill this out here during announcements or sometime during a sermon. I'd say do it during the sermon because that's better than falling asleep because I can see you fall asleep. Have fun with it with the people, start getting them programmed to fill this out, whether they're a member here every week, whether they show up once a week, because your your visitors, you want them to fill it out. And if they don't see people filling it out, they're not going to fill it out.
Right.
Okay, so you're setting an example for them to fill this out. And it's important because the records for the church, you have parochial records that you are supposed to be keeping. Okay, like how many communed today?
Mhm.
Okay, who communed today? You know, those types of things. And because whoever fills out your annual parochial report has to know that information that gets sent on to the church, and the church keeps, you know, Pacifica and that, you know, those are important things.
Yeah.
It's helped trends.
It's
Yeah, we're
10
getting
to
close to
11.
our time.
Just
Okay.
1 to 11.
Yeah, we're good. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I need a good person talking in my ear. Okay. So when it comes to, this is your first step of capturing the information. And then your ushers, you know, we always invited people. Are you taking in-person offerings yet? If you've gone back to the table,
So we have 2 stands at the entrance. That we
okay.
have. So we don't pass the plate, but the plates are there.
Okay, I'm going to encourage you, if you've gone back to communion, to go back to in-person passing the plate. I encourage you to do that, okay? There, you know, or relocated if you're going, this depends on your theology.
Don't want to pay for communion.
Right, that was the other side, have it up front.
I knew
as
where you were
people
going
come
with
by.
that.
Yeah, depends on your theology, so whatever works,
They're
okay?
doing pretty well at
Yeah,
dropping
what-
it as they
yeah.
come in or out.
But you want that card, you want this piece of paper back.
We've always passed them to the center aisles, and the cards fit really nicely on the edge of the pew there. And the ushers would collect them during, I think, which hymn did they collect it? I don't
It was pretty
know.
early.
It was pretty, like, it wasn't the first hymn, maybe,
Probably was.
but, yeah,
Right.
but
Well,
I
we
guess
could
it
ac-
was.
We could actually ask people to, if we're gonna do this, actually have them do it during that.
The announcements.
During the announcement, but also during that song where we don't participate. It's just
The musical
the
offering.
musical
Yeah.
offering.
Yeah,
We actually.
So-
put it in
So you
the
guys figure
offertory
out and
into it. It's
play
not
with it a
my
little
church,
bit.
so.
Yeah.
Your goal is to get as many back as possible and let your people know they need to fill it out. Those that are
Yes.
here on a regular basis, they need to fill it out too, because it's important for us to have the information. Now, eventually they're gonna start doing shortcuts and only put certain information down or whatever the case is. You don't have to fight that. You don't want to make this a battle. You will, though, get pushback on this when it starts. Okay?
Mhm.
Because they're already programmed to do something a certain way.
Mhm.
Okay?
It's-
And this is new.
Yeah, that we did the attendance cards, you know, the small ones.
Mhm.
So they were very used to doing that.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So,
But then there's. been
and
this
people have
2-year
asked,
lag
when
or
are we
whatever.
gonna go back to doing
Yeah,
those?
so I don't think it'll be as hard for them.
No.
to,
okay,
you know,
but let them
encourage
know
them.
it's gonna be a little different.
Yeah.
And just to
yes,
go with
definitely.
us, because we're trying to, you don't need to, you don't want to spill all the beans or show everybody how the sausage is being made in
Mhm.
public worship. But there's a reason why you're doing this.
Mhm.
Okay, and if you have a question about it, talk to somebody on the outreach team, talk to, you know, pastor, you know, and just say what, you know, that's the place to have that extended conversation, not on a Sunday morning in the middle of worship. You know, we're doing something a little different. We're trying to do some things. You might find this a little inconvenient, but that's really part of the plan.
Mhm.
Okay, we want to do something, you know, and we kind of flip flop back and forth, not week to week, but like over the course of, you know, we may move for 1 year. They used to do attendance books.
I've seen
Yeah,
those.
In
I've
St.
seen
Paul,
those.
where you started at one end and they fill out and they pass to the next person. And then there's always somebody who's sitting at one end of a pew and another one sitting way over in the middle of the pew is all empty. So somebody's got to get up and walk all the way down there. However, you know, this is the most effective way that we found that worked for capturing information, particularly for new faces.
Well, and I
Okay.
think this would probably eliminate the need for the attendance
Yes,
checker.
that,
Yes.
the attendance taker is because we were not using cards.
Yeah.
And they didn't have to touch anything and pass anything.
Oh,
and
yeah, it was a
spread all
COVID
that.
thing.
That was a
Mhm.
So who
COVID
was
thing.
your attendance
Totally a
taker? They
COVID
just,
thing.
It was essentially another greeter.
okay, and they counted heads?
So they
Mm,
they
yeah,
have a
I-
book in front of them and they
They
Like,
actually checked in.
check
checked
people
us
in,
They checked
and then
everybody
they
out.
counted heads,
No,
Okay.
and the ushers counted head and
Mhm.
the two of them came up with a
reconciled.
bodies for matching names count.
Yeah, the founding pastor at St. Paul issued ushers clickers.
Oh, funny.
And they had to count people as they came in.
I do
And
remember
then he had them count on the way out. They didn't add the two together, but it was,
Hmm.
did we lose somebody in the sanctuary? That's my thought. He's kind of like
Well,
taking.
what about the one that
Disney-
went out early to set up coffee?
Well, yeah.
What-
So I wouldn't
what's
do
your-
clickers.
What's your elevator pitch for knowing that we're still in the endemic pandemic? Elevator pitch for bringing back actually passing the plate.
I would start at the very 10,000-foot level and say, hey, we brought back communion. You're gonna see, we brought back direct distribution of communion. You're gonna start seeing some return to pre-pandemic activity. Okay. And so you may see some new offerings happening, i.e. we may start passing the offering plates in the next couple of weeks. Okay, just kind of.
I mentioned these too.
Well, right.
Same
And then say, I would say, have people physically put this in the offering
Mhm.
plate when the offering plate goes by. Okay. And that, and then, the ushers can, pull them all together and put them on however you're going to follow up with these, by recording attendance in the office and how you're going to follow up when you do have a visitor, how you're going to follow that up, because it's really important to have a pattern. Okay. And to get into that pattern, which is, okay.
And
it's
they
Sunday
need, the
afternoon.
congregation needs to know that we're interested in following up on visitors.
Right.
Not that it's some nebulous secret out
Right,
there,
right,
oh my
right,
gosh,
Right.
Right.
And again, remember, this is a process.
Mhm.
This is a process. And so, when you follow up with the first time visitor or even a second time visitor, does this card say this is my first time here, third time here? I don't know. First and second time. Yeah.
For-
Yeah. So that's a way to track that they've come back, and that, but it's important, and they need to hear from somebody within 24 hours. It's great if they hear from somebody on Sunday afternoon. You're going to probably be dealing with one or two, three or four, and especially initially as you do this. And there'll be some Sundays you won't have any. Okay, but and that first contact doesn't have to be from the pastor. In fact, I encourage that it not be from the pastor. Is simply, hi, I'm so and so with Faith Lutheran Church. You were here today in church. Just want to, if you're leaving a message, just want to say thank you for coming. We're glad to hear. Please don't hesitate to let us know if you have any questions. And you'll probably be hearing from somebody else, in a week or something like that. Always follow up in the first 24 hours. You may do something during the week
Mhm.
of that first week. And then on the second week, whether they're here or not, another phone call that says, hey, we missed you at church today. We hope you consider, joining us again. And that just to let them know you care. Okay. You're not going to be drilling them down with 20 questions. Oh, what do you do? What's your income level? What's,
The
know,
last thing we want them to do is
you-
think we're after their money,
well, yeah.
even if we are.
So
I
it's
hate it when I hear
finding
that,
that hospitable piece, and you may even want to do something that, but you now have their information. So if you're going to do a new member orientation, or, hey, we're gonna do a class, it's gonna be 3 or 4 Sundays or something like that. We hope you would consider attending. This is a great way to find out more about the church.
It's 11 o'clock,
Yeah.
your midnight witching hour.
It was, and we ended up having to back that out towards the last couple of years because people weren't, people were still coming,
Mhm.
but like the choir was refusing to come to 11 o'clock anymore. And,
I don't blame them a bit.
yeah,
So.
so,
11 o'clock at night?
yeah, well, on Christmas Eve. so I'm
Oh,
assuming
right,
what you're
okay.
talking about, Yeah,
That's what-
midnight.
No, I was talking about 11 o'clock now.
Oh, 11 o'clock now? Oh, okay. Yeah, 11:15 is my drop. I've got to be on the road back
Okay.
to get to the next stop. So
Um,
anyway, any questions about that?
Well, I just had one thing, and one of the things that was on the backside of our cards were prayer requests, which is why they were collected early, and the ushers would go through, and if they had a prayer request, they would tiptoe up to the assisting minister and hand them to him to be included in the prayers of intercession. And a lot of people have asked about, not, several people have said to me, when are we going to go back? When can we do prayer requests again? But we now have it opened up where they can do it orally,
Right.
Mhm. and I know a lot of people that are doing
They
that.
just
but
kind of join in and shout
Yeah,
out, not
they-
shout
it's-
out, but they
Yeah.
either quietly or in their heart or
Exactly,
publicly in speech. Yeah,
exactly.
which is a great practice to do, to continue that. If they're really in love with the card,
We'll see
that's,
what happens.
well, if they're really in love with the card, I wouldn't combine it with this. I would have a specific prayer request card, and you can get them in stock
Okay,
from a church supply place. You
Oh.
don't have to go out and print your own. I don't know if Augsburg Fortress has them, but Augsburg Fortress for us out here on the West Coast is you get nailed with shipping charges. So
Yeah, Outreach has them also.
yeah, so wherever, you could call Cotters in Los Angeles or
Yeah.
go online. You can look at Cotters is a big church
Right.
supply
we
agency.
get our
Cater-
eternal lights from.
Yeah, caters to the Roman Catholic faith, but a lot of Protestants use them for things. I
Mhm.
used to get ashes there every year for Ash Wednesday because we used to burn our crosses from the year before, into it, but we could never get the ashes as fine
Right,
and as
yeah.
thing as that. So, you spend $20 for a little pack of ashes that's about it's kind of in a rectangle like this, and it's like a little baggie, with the seals on one end, and that'll probably last you 10 years. It's just so fine, and it's like $15. So it's like, rather than spending hours burning the ashes, when I was in Simi Valley as a youth worker, we used to go get them from the local Catholic priest because he had a knack for burning them and buy them from that church. So anyway, yeah. So there's different ways, but Cotters, Lifeway might have something. If there are any Lifeways left, a lot of church back stores are not around. Okay, so you just need to find a church supply store,
Okay.
and they will probably have a pew card that's prayers, and you
All right.
just get them. But they're about
I'll
the
check it out.
size. They're about the size of the card you're using right now.
Yeah.
But you're not writing a bunch of different information on it. You're
Yeah.
prayer requests, right? And of
And
course,
you can do it anonymously if you really want to, the
Right.
prayer request. It
right,
doesn't have to have
right,
your
right.
name and address on there.
Right, and you're not collecting why you're praying for that. Okay, first of all, if it's an individual, it's their story to tell. Okay, so if they write something down and do something, that's fine. But we had to change our whole time up front when the new HIPAA rules came out 20 years ago. That we couldn't talk about somebody else and why they're in the hospital, because that's a HIPAA violation. And people are more sensitive to that now. As culture has shifted. So you can pray for them, but you can't get, Bill or Susie been diagnosed with stage 3 lung cancer, and they're, you go, you can't publicly share that unless they've given you permission to share that. Not that the average person is going to turn around and sue you, but why take that chance?
Yeah.
remember, it's their story to tell. So they may say, yeah, you can share it with a few people. You can share it. I don't want it publicly announced in church, or I don't, however that works. So good. All right. I kind of given you some tasks to think about. Okay. And that was my goal today. I didn't want to just keep coming back and talking at the 10,000-foot level. So I appreciate you humoring me today. You can do something here for Thanksgiving and Christmas, and then can be evaluated, at the beginning of the year to say, okay, this is what we did this year. This is what kind of worked, didn't work, really worked. Again, don't get worried about the numbers. Okay, you got to be at this for a while to really be able to begin to catch traction. And the real key is your church newsletter is great. You need the church newsletter. You need some announcements on Sunday morning. You'll still have people that'll walk up to you and go, I didn't know anything about that. And you just go,
Mhm.
okay.
That's
But
like
you,
the kid that always said, what test? Get ready for the test. What test?
what test? Yeah, yeah. So
And we've been talking about all week.
right. So you keep that going. Okay. Even though some people, that's just who they are. They're never really in tune to the details. Okay. And so you keep reminding them. You keep, if you're talking about developing a new website, how you're going to maintain that. Okay. How you can do e-blast news or something like that. That's going to be the most recent. And usually a newsletter now is outdated by the time you put it in the mail, because it won't reach them for another week, depending on your post office and how they handle nonprofit stuff.
Most of the newsletters are emailed,
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's great.
and then.
So they're the
each-
most recent then.
And then each Friday, there's an email that goes out from the office telling what's coming up. the
Fabulous.
coming week.
That's a great way to do that. And what you want to do is, as you capture names and email addresses,
Yeah.
add them to that, because your email, I don't know, do you use Constant Contact? How do you email blast out?
Then just has a list of all the email, all the
Okay,
people who want to.
You
receive
might-
the email.
you might want to consider, I think Constant Contact's $150, $200 a year. Loading people into Constant Contact, because then they have the ability to unsubscribe if they don't want. So when you start dabbling with new people's emails,
Mhm. Well, we usually
okay,
ask them first,
right,
can we email our newsletter to you? And
Right,
then-
right, right.
So we don't just add their name.
Well,
Yeah.
but you're gonna want to communicate to new visitors.
Yes,
And
but
so,
I still think that we should ask them.
That's
would it be
fine.
okay if I emailed you the?
But see, like, I
newsletter
brought
or-
people to church on bring a friend to church Sunday, so when I get my new newsletter, I'm gonna forward that newsletter to her.
There you go, yeah.
Okay, okay,
And you already know her,
Right.
so that'll be.
right.
something that she'll open
So-
up and
So
see.
again, you want to begin to think outside. People know that once they get their email, I have some more spam stuff than ever, but it's, you want to consider, because at least Constant Contact will give them the option
Okay,
with one click to unsubscribe if they don't want to receive information from the church.
Is the church notified of that
Yes, you should be, there's all kinds of
configuration?
configurations with Constant Contact.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the perfect world, but it is good when you're on a cheap, less expensive, resources are limited. So let me see what tell you.
We have those visitor cards now. Does it ask them how they heard of us?
Mhm.
Do we keep track of that?
So we would need to alter
Yeah,
this a
so we're-
little bit.
Mhm. You create it or how you want it.
Do you have a file for this?
Do I have a file? I would have to go back to Lori and see if she'll send me
So you just have a physical copy of this somewhere that you.
Yeah,
just
she
ran.
sent it to me, and I don't know if it's, I need to look and see if it's in Word. If it's in Word, I can forward it to you guys. And then you
Word
can-
or
then-
PDF is fine.
Then you can adapt it, so.
Yeah, Word would be much better. It's
Yeah.
more easily adaptable.
Correct.
Yeah.
But we can even work with PDF if
And you
need
just-
be.
you just take
Yeah,
a-
that's more than a review.
you type that and you're done. And you cut and paste,
Mhm.
Exactly.
copy and paste. So
Okay, constant
then you can type it
contact
out.
is as cheap as $9.99 per month. The plus plan, which is always recommended, is $45 a month.
Ooh,
Or
Which one is
Or-
the 45?
The
the
plus,
plan. And then there's view tiered pricing, so you can probably subscribe.
choose your own adventure kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, you can get up to over $400 a
plus
month,
plan.
but there's a chance that you
Plus
can,
plan.
there's
Oh,
a,
constant contact.
Mhm.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
there's a.
One was 10 and one was.
That's
45.
tiered pricing and that's counting, but take a look at it, find it, there's probably an annual subscription cost. It'll be less, it'll be
Mhm.
like 12 months for 10 months cost
Mhm.
type of
Right,
thing.
mhm.
So, look at that. If you have any questions, my go-to person is in the St. Paul office in Fullerton, and her name is Lori Sargent.
Oh, that's Sergeant.
Yeah.
That's a very familiar.
Yeah, she used to be in the Senate office
There you
too.
go.
She worked for us and the Senate office. She was communications
Mhm.
at the Senate and during a chunk of Murray Fink's time as
Hmm.
bishop. So Seargeant is how she spells her last name. And her Seargeant. It's like 2 EAs. in it.
Like surgeon.
Yeah, there's her husband's a Methodist pastor, Matt,
And you said that's St. Paul.
St. Paul and
Fullerton.
Fullerton. Yeah, she's in the office Monday through Thursday. She doesn't work Friday, I believe. So, okay. Got a couple minutes. Any questions for me? Going to see this file. It's a PDF, I think. Yep, it's a PDF. Okay. So I'm gonna forward it to, who wants it?
I'll have it.
Okay. Give me your emails. I'm on my personal email, so you're not gonna jump on my Outlook. So,
Oh.
okay.
PR Faith
PR.
Menifee at Gmail.
Okay, Menifee, M-E. I always misspell
That's
it.
all right. MENI,
I-F-E.
correct.
Okay. At Gmail.
Mhm.
This obviously came, they actually have changed their format now. And I don't think it's as helpful. They have gone to a trifold bulletin, a small trifold bulletin, because everything's projected on screens. And it has some announcements and things in it, but one of the trifolds has this on it. And I look at it and I go, well, then how, I would be
We gotta
encouraging
tear
people
it
to
up.
just drop the whole bulletin into the offering plate. I mean, it's not that big, drop it in the hole, because tearing it off is a real inconvenience. So,
Mhm.
So we're the last Sunday before the pandemic,
mhm,
we tried out a 1-page, 1-fold, so folded in half
Fullerton.
bulletin,
okay.
and then the pandemic hit. And so now we're revamping that for
Mhm.
current
Mhm.
use.
Mhm.
And should see that coming out soon.
Mhm. Good, good.
So were you suggesting, or was I hearing wrong that, and I know I got it wrong,
That's okay.
that, so if this is our bulletin, we should put the.
Put it
QR
inside
code
your
in there
bulletin.
So that it'll follow out in the back, right?
Well, yeah, I could, yeah. How it could
That's, no,
fall.
and that's fine.
Yeah.
It could be a different color.
Oh,
Um,
always, yeah. This was
and-
never on white. This was
Mhm.
always on a color
I would
sheet of
I would
paper.
Change it every week.
And so,
Yeah, or by
Okay.
season,
Yeah.
church
Or
season.
just
Oh,
so you
sure.
would know it's some
Mhm,
different from the other one.
mhm,
yeah,
And this obviously was just, or during,
Memories.
just before or sometime during the pandemic, when they started coming back. They put this there,
The QR code.
see the QR code that people could put their
Oh,
phone on a picture and do online giving.
okay.
Okay, so one of the things, if you do a new website, definitely be thinking about online giving,
Mhm.
not just the giving where people can set it up with their bank or Thrivent or whatever they do, but where people can actually give online.
We have looked into that from what I'm remembering, and the bank that we use doesn't do that.
You don't do it with the
You
bank,
don't,
do
do-
you?
well, no, it does, the online giving would go into the church bank account.
Yeah, and,
Mhm.
and that's where the problem is.
Well-
how it doesn't do that. The last time they checked, I'll check with.
Might want to check
It's-
again.
Sure, who
and if
knows
they-
what's changed.
If they don't do it, you might want to consider moving banks. I mean, it's just, checks are scheduled to disappear on in 2026. They were originally supposed to disappear, they were originally supposed to,
Only what I use it for is church.
they
I mean,
were originally set to disappear in 2022, and it got moved. Now, there's a good chance it's going to get moved again, okay, because that's the way things work. But checks are the most expensive arm of the bank for cost to banks. That's not why it's going to go. The federal government or the government saying this is, we've moved into the digital age. Now, there are going to be people who are going to say, I'm never going to give online. I'm never going to do this online, because there's a fear that it's going, and it's a legitimate fear. Something could happen. But you can, but I'm just letting you know that the last conversation I had with Keith Monday, who was lead stewardship with the ELCA, he's now working for one of the big stewardship companies.
And it's what the younger people love.
They're going to be eliminating checks,
Okay.
become a more cashless and checkless society.
I'll check with Mike.
Good, bad, and different.
Yeah. Went down to San Diego and I gave Jeremy money to pay for parking and he says, Mom, nobody wants money anymore. Just put it away. We have to have a card here.
Check it in your pocket.
Who knew?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
gosh.
So it is a shifting
Yeah.
world in a lot of ways. So
Didn't need to go away.
I don't, I'm in a bank 3 times a year.
Yeah.
That's probably pushing, and it's usually more with the boosters, because I have to deposit cash from a thing, but all the checks that come in, I do mobile deposit.
too.
I just click,
So much
Click,
easier.
click.
I like my
and,
checkbook, I'm sorry.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
I like looking in that little register going exactly what then I can look what I paid.
I wouldn't
last
even look
year.
at it if I had it.
When I worked at Barnes and Noble during seminary, so 2016, 2017, and I would work cash register and I was kind of all over the store. But they said, if anyone comes in and tries to pay with a check, immediately call the manager.
For heaven's sake.
Really?
In
Yes,
2016. Oh
Yep.
gosh.
because there was so many people who would, I mean,
Bad
no
checks.
one paid with checks.
Yeah.
Hardly. And so they're like, we're just gonna have somebody a little bit beyond your pay grade, make sure that
Make
it's
sure
clear.
good.
You don't have to deal with it. We'll have the manager deal with it.
So
See,
that
I don't
means
use checks or anything like
friend
that.
to
I use
friend,
credit
you're gonna have
cards
to
for all that.
sell
Yeah, I pay
something
my
before you
bills
do
and
it that
stuff.
way,
I like
right?
Paying it by check.
Yeah, there's going to be a huge learning curve. So that's
Yeah.
why I'm thinking they're not preparing us now. We're in 2022. They better start preparing it by 2024, because people are going to have to. But look, I mean, look at booster shots for COVID, and look at all the different reasons people said, I'm not going to do this. Now, this is a little different. It's a check. It's a service. And, if they wanted to stop checks tomorrow, they could, the majority of people now, have their paychecks direct deposited. And then the other thing is that, as recent, pre-pandemic, in the United States, between 25 and 30% of the population did not have a bank account. I know that's foreign to us, okay? But there's a lot of people who would walk down to the local, a liquor store or something and go into a payment to pay their utilities and to do those types of things. They didn't have a checking account. They didn't have a savings account. There was an update about a week ago that said, I think that number's down to like 11% because the pandemic forced people to go get a bank account, and that. So anyway, it's a
Real,
shift.
real quick, I mean, you might not have the answer to this. I just quickly went on our website builder and they have a take payments option, which I mean, it's not payment, but that's what they call
Right. It's a shopping cart.
it. They have where per online transaction, they charge 2.3% plus 30 cents. What does that sound like to you?
You want to shop around.
Mhm.
Okay. If you want to do that. Okay. And recognize that not a lot of people are going to do it. There is going to be a cost to the church.
Right.
Any type of online giving is going to have a cost. It eventually though will pay for itself, as people find it more convenient and that. You can talk to Tithely. In the LCA, we use a lot of Tithely stuff and
Vanco.
Tithely and Vanco to see, because they're very church friendly. So you can, and your website should be able to come. But the issue is the other end. Vanco, VANCO.
Mhm.
The other side of that is you've got to be able, your bank account has to be able to receive that. And I would find it really hard to believe that Provident, we've just been working with
Is it-
Provident. because
It'll
of
be a
the whole-
wired transfer, right?
Right, what'll happen is people will go through your shopping cart, they'll pay. But then people here should be getting a receipt of that, your, for giving records and all of that stuff, the office and whoever's your financial secretary should be getting that. So it gets added to their record. But,
But that's not done by the bank. That's done by
That's-
Tithely or Vanco.
right, it
correct?
comes back to you in a receipt. You
Right.
have to have a bank though that's going to receive the money.
Right.
And I would find it hard to believe that Provident doesn't have that.
Well,
in
they probably
place.
have that. I would imagine they have that.
Yeah,
It was
it's-
the automated thing that you were looking at before
Directly from Providence
yeah.
instead of Tithely or Vanco.
yeah, they would definitely take this. I can't imagine.
I
anybody-
can't
Right,
imagine
because
that they
business,
wouldn't.
they wouldn't have any business
Yeah.
accounts.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, as I said, it's been a while since we.
Yeah.
talked about
Yeah,
that too,
yeah,
quite a
yeah.
while, so,
And who knows what they were trying to set up.
I'll have
Right,
Mike.
Right,
look into
you want a merchant account, basically for you, and then it goes there, and I wouldn't necessarily understand that the charge depends on the type of card people are using. That also impacts and that's why you have to kind of be careful. Discover cards are a little more expensive than Visa and MasterCard. American Express is a little more expensive for you for processing fees. But if the Visa and MasterCard are reward cards, like you get points
Mhm.
and this and that, they're more expensive too. So for processing, because they're not giving that reward for
No, they're
free.
not.
Okay,
They're not.
it's getting charged. Okay, and there was, back when the Obamacare started piece, there actually was I was sitting on the Lutheran Credit Union board then. There was buried in that legislation a charge every time somebody swiped a card to help support that healthcare program. That got that got wiped out. The banks put a lot of pressure on the government for that because it was going to kill the small bank or credit union that worked regionally or locally, because the fees they were getting charged that in the transaction fee from bank to bank. And so that was buried in there. And so Congress responded in it and
It's
took that
amazing
out.
what's buried everywhere.
Yeah.
You
So
watching this?
I'm
Okay.
gonna leave.
Okay, I mean, you're not rushing.
Real
Yeah,
quick
it's okay.
action items. So we're gonna approach this. We're gonna potentially pitch putting the plate back in action. We're gonna look at how we're gonna promote the midweek services and the holiday services.
Mhm.
What other action items do we have?
Let's see,
That's a
another-
plateful.
Yeah.
That's plenty.
No
but I
pun,
want to
no
make
pun
yeah, yeah.
intended.
Yeah,
Let's hope your plates get full too.
Yes.
We need to get on our agenda, a plan, long-range plan.
Right.
And,
We can start that process. Yeah.
yeah, let's see.
And
Online giving.
To drop the attendance sheet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's more of a longer term, the online
That
giving
will be
piece,
a
because
really
remember, you're moving into a holiday period.
scheduling.
People are going to be more taxed and stressed for their time. People are back out and about. And it's just, I mean, traffic on roads right now is just, it's back to pre-pandemic. And so you do that. Use this time period to help inform you about Lent. Okay, because Ash Wednesday is,
Early, I think.
I may not have this calendar, it's not really this calendar, so, oh, nope, 22nd of February, so it's not too bad.
February 22nd?
February 22nd, okay, which then puts Easter on the 9th of April, so it's almost as late as it can be, but not quite. And what I want to begin you thinking about is, okay, we're going to do this now. We need to immediately pivot for Lent and Easter. But I want you to be thinking that you have everything in place that you're going to be doing for summer by the end of February. Okay. And we would always work best because there's enough thought and planning and less scrambling. There'll always be scrambling at the end, but that is if you think of your calendar at 4-month increments, okay, by the time the summer begins, you should have everything that you're doing through Christmas or maybe through January. Okay. And then when you come out of
That's a
summer,
6-month
yeah,
calendar.
well, you come out, well, you're actually one try ahead.
Okay.
So you're not this try looking to the next try, you're actually looking 2 tries down the road for your planning.
Mhm.
Okay. So and that's just in general. As if all of a sudden you say, we're going to do a neighborhood VBS. You don't do VBS right now, right?
Current.
So we're going to do a neighborhood VBS.
Mhm.
You need to be signing people up by and publicizing it by before Easter.
Yeah, that's what Easter, hmm.
So to do it.
You're at 11:30.
Yeah, I'm leaving. See, I have to put these restraints because I'll keep going. I'll keep going.
Aim early and then.
Yeah, exactly.
I always build a little wiggle room in, but I'm pushing that limit. So, okay, I'm on to
Thank you
San
so
Diego.
Do we have our
Thank you.
next planned time?
We don't, well, that's a question, do you want to come back again? Do you want us to get this November, December, come back in January, or are we out on?
If we wanted to do a touch base early in December, I don't want to plug up your calendars, but it would be more of how's it going right now,
Okay,
and a hurrah to start thinking about Lent.
okay.
And that.
Now, is it convenient for you to come here, or should we get you on soon.
I can come.
Okay.
I'm a little old school in that regard. We're more effective face to
I
face,
think,
I believe.
completely.
And I got so zoomed out. There were times I was during COVID. I was on I was on my computer, my iPad, and my phone at the same time.
Oh my.
3 Zooms with one earphone plugged into one, another ear plugged into another, and then listening.
Well, I
Because I
said the
couldn't
wrong
with
thing
the
to the
other.
wrong people.
Yeah, sure. And so, because our
Mic muting was key.
yeah, DEMs get together every week on Tuesdays at 9 o'clock Pacific time, 11 o'clock Chicago time. Well, that was the same time we were having staff meetings. And so eventually it got to the point where I said, I can watch a recording for Chicago. I need to be focused on the staff meeting and that, but it just was insane.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
So, but I can do it if need be. Thank you, Jerome.
Is Jerome gone?
No, he's
No,
still
he's
there.
there.
Yes, sir.
Okay, take care. Thank you.
No, thank you.
I'm clear.
Okay, all right.
I'll see you at the
Thank
wellness
you.
convention.
Well,
Yeah, I gotta write my little ditty yet.
Oh, that's right. We'll see you in
Yeah.
A week from Saturday, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
good.
I'm hoping I can do some writing on the airplane going to Columbus. To my old parish, Sue and I are going because they're celebrating their 100th anniversary
Oh,
on
cool.
their
Wow.
current site.
wow.
That's their 133rd year.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, but yeah,
Oh, good.
so they invited us
Oh,
back.
that'd be
So,
Well, travel safely. And,
yeah, thanks.
We'll welcome you back.
Okay, and I've heard 30 minutes, I've seen 45 minutes on the presentation, so I'll hit somewhere in between.
That's probably a good idea.
People get tired of hearing me.
We did target for 30 minutes.
Right,
and
right.
That leaves time for questions and
Yeah,
stuff. And,
Sure,
you know,
sure.
chit chat and this and that. So.
Sounds good.
Good,
Okay.
good. Well,
Bye-bye,
thank you.
everybody.
Thank
Take care.
you.
Just as a
I
quick
think
related note.
we need to ask John something too before he goes.
Okay, go ahead.
No, it's okay.
So I was talking with our newly installed bishop, and he is going to come next October to preach in connection with the 60th anniversary here.
Hey, nice work.
so we have a date for
Wow,
that.
Great.
October 2023.
Mhm. And I believe it's October 22nd, 10/22/23.
Okay. And Bishop will be here,
Mhm,
and that'll be our anniversary celebration.
mhm.
Okay.
So what we have on the books is that October 6th is the like official date
Mhm.
of like when this was founded. But that's a Friday, and
You said the 8th?
the 6th,
No, I
Uh,
mean, for when the bishop's here.
the 22nd, 20.
22nd.
10/22.
Mhm.
I got it.
Okay.
It's almost 123,
Yeah.
102223.
Yeah. That's funny.
But yeah, I just wanted to put that out there as well.
Good. Thank you.
That's for next year, right?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say. that's
Yeah, he would have been preaching 4 days ago.
Yeah,
So Jerome,
yes,
can you hear me? Can you hear me
Yeah,
now?
yes.
We were talking about the December Menifee 24/7. Is there a possibility of getting the Advent services on that ad?
Might have frozen.
that one time.
I'm sorry,
Did this thing come out?
That doesn't matter.
Oh, okay.
apparently we lost you for
No,
a minute.
We lost something.
So essentially for the November, December
Sorry.
24/7 and our various advertisements, are we able to put in, are we able to edit that still, change the content to add in the midweek services and the holiday times?
We have to do that, basically next week.
Okay, yeah, we can do that.
And, you know, whatever you want it to look like, I would go with a smaller logo. Lutheran Church. I would not go with and I don't know if you want to do the address, and then below that, put the, what you want to put in there as far as your schedule.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, now that's gonna cost, I think that's $525.
525. Okay.
Now, are you paying for it or am I paying for it?
Who's paying for it?
That's what he's
That's
asking.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't think we can pay for it.
Yeah, I don't think that the church has an area to pay for it. So I think we were going to ask if you were able to pay for it again. And then after that, I think
Where do I find my deletes?
it's a question of budgeting it for the next year into the actual church budget.
Yes, I recommend that we put forward, particularly at the council meeting,
Mm-hmm.
that we get confirming that we have at least $15 into advertisement for the holidays, Christmas, Easter, and return to church in September.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
This is yesterday's and it's not in 24/7.
What's that?
It's okay.
Okay.
No, I
I'm just
think it
confused.
So
was on to-
we just have 24/7 scheduled for these upcoming months, correct? No physical mailings,
No, the physical mailing is in November.
November. And is that
November 6th, the direct mailing starts.
okay? And that's already set in stone because that's coming up real quick.
Yeah. And then what we were going to do in December, I was going to discuss at the council meeting next Monday.
Okay.
If you know, so if you could, between now and next Monday, you know, the size of the ad and what you guys want to put into it.
I'm not sure that I have the dimensions of the ad space anymore. Are you able to find that?
Somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll look back and see if I can find it. I can email you, but the important thing is, well, the whole thing changes. In other words, we gotta
Right.
reduce the logo, we gotta reduce, you know, and what, how much information are you gonna put into it?
Yes, I mean, we'll have the content figured
If
out.
you go to 24, if you go this month to 24/7, there's our ad. And you can take a look at it.
24/7.
Sounds good.